Okay, so today is Sunday. It's my church day, but I've actually been at the church yesterday feeding the horses, and today's a very, very rainy day. The morning was terrible with thunder and lightning and, you know, a heavy high felt storm as we know it. So this is the weather. I'm going to tune into the church service via YouTube, and I'm going to watch. And while I do that, I'm going to make two dishes. First up, I've got some eggs in cold water and some salt, which is boiling up on number 4. And I've had these in here for a few minutes whilst I was doing the dishes. It's basically potato, peas, and boiled egg curry. Sounds weird, but that's what it's going to be today. And I'm also going to make some lamb curry. Yeah, and that's about it. So whilst these are boiling, I'm going to just do the prep for the vegetables, the potatoes and the onions and the tomato, and wash up the meat, etc. And then we'll join you shortly. Okay, so you can see the eggs have started boiling. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to turn the heat off completely, like that, and we're going to just leave it on the stove. And I'm going to put a timer on to 15 minutes, like that. And when the timer rings, I'm going to then drain the water and add cold water and then peel the eggs. In the meantime, pan's on the stove and preparing the potatoes. You can see I'm cutting them in half lengthways, and then I'm going to cut them in quarters again lengthways, and then chop it up like this into little cubes. So that's the egg and potato curry prep coming up. Okay, so the buzzer's rung, and I'm now going to remove the eggs from the stove. Give me a second. Okay, so the eggs are in the pot. I've got the tap running on cool water, cold water, and I'm just going to drain the eggs from the hot water. And fill it up with cold water. There you go. And then I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes or so, and then I'll peel them. I've added salt in the cold water before boiling, and that helps with peeling them a lot easier. Okay, so the pan is heated. I'm just adding some oil, about that much. Say 2 to 3 tablespoons. And then I'm also going to add some ghee, 1 tablespoon. Okay, there you go. And whilst that melts, I'm going to peel the eggs. My playback singing is basically the church service. Okay, so it seems like the eggs are going to have to wait for a while, because I see the oil has heated up quite a bit. You can see around the edges it's rising, so that means I can't let the oil and the ghee burn. So I'm going to add the onions. So for egg and potato and peas curry, you don't really need to add, you know, you can add the other whole spices like I did for the beans curry. But for this, you can add some garam masala on the top, and that should do it. So I'm adding some onions. You can see it was 1 whole large onion. 1 whole large onion. And I'm going to save the rest for when I'm adding the salt and the cumin seeds. Okay. Just stir it around a little bit. Again, I haven't had a chance to go shopping. Work has been really crazy. So no curry leaves, but if you had curry leaves, this is where you'd add them with the onion. Okay. Always in any cooking, Indian food. Add the curry leaf with your onion and your whole spices. Okay, so while that browns, I'm going to attend to the eggs now. Okay, so I found a place where I can balance the eggs and show what I normally do to peel the eggs. So I just bang it on any surface for a bit until it is basically, you know, like squished the shells, and then I just peel it. As you can see, it gets peeled quite easily. So there you go. And then I've just got still some cold water in, which is now warm water, and I rinse the egg, and there you go, peeled egg, peeled boiled egg. Okay, and then I'm going to do the rest in the same way. And there you go, eggs all peeled. In some instances you'll get the ones that will kind of burst in the pot, and it's okay to peel them. They still have nutritional value and all of that. It's just that, you know, they've cracked in the pot. And some of these get peeled rather nicely, and some of them, as you can see, not so perfectly, but it's still eggs, still nutritious, still goes in the pot with the potatoes. So the onions here are still doing their thing. As I mentioned before, that ghee does tend to slow the process of browning. I've turned up the heat to number 4, and I'm just waiting now for it to get slightly more golden brown before I add the ginger, the garlic, and the masala, which is the curry powder, and then bring it all together. Okay, so browned enough. In fact, a little too much. I was dancing in the lounge. Alright, so I'm going to turn this to 3 again, because this is one of those hot pots, you know, that gets hot really quickly. So in here what I've done, I've got a teaspoon of garlic, full teaspoon of garlic, half a teaspoon of ginger, and 2 heaped teaspoons of curry powder. So I'm going to add them all in, like so. And I'm going to stir it all together. Oops, sorry. Stir it all together. And then I'm going to add the potatoes. Okay, here they are. I'd say about 5 potatoes. 5 medium to large potatoes. Chopped, washed, peeled. Well, not in that order necessarily. Okay, so all of them are in. Give it a stir. Usual. Mix them well. Let it get coated, let the potatoes get coated well with the spices in the pan. Okay, and then at this point, the pan's getting cooler. I've had these pans for over 28, 29 years now. And these are the cousin of the ANC pots. They're Nutri-style pots. So as you know, these don't necessarily need very high heat. It's an energy saver pot. So it's important that from time to time we lower the heat and don't cook on too high heat, and watch that it might, burn. So hence, the lower the heat, the better it is. So what I'm doing is I'm now sprinkling the remainder of the onion on top that was, saved earlier. And then I'm going to add some salt and cumin. Salt. And for that amount of potatoes, I'm just using maybe it's a teaspoonful. Okay, not anymore, or maybe, yeah, for the peas a little later. I always add a little extra. Okay, and then some cumin. I'm also just going to add about a teaspoon, like that. Okay. So now it's ready to do its thing for about 20 minutes or so. There you go. Salt, onion, and coriander. Salt, onion, and cumin seeds. In the pot, I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of water just to cover the potatoes a little bit so that the masala doesn't burn. Okay, just give it a shake like that, and I'm going to close the pot and let that cook. Okay, and then I have over here prepared already, it's 2 small tomatoes, so this is sufficient, and I've done it the way I normally do the tomatoes in the blender, and this here is basically the 1 tomato which I'm saving for the lamb curry. So I've done the tomatoes in the same way for the potato, peas and egg curry. Okay, so now we wait for that to cook and soften before we add the eggs and the peas, and then it will be done. Okay, so I've uncovered the pot just to check on what's going on with the water that I've added, and you can see that it's still there, which is a good thing. I've increased the heat to 4, and at this point I'm just going to give everything a stir. Just give everything a stir like that, and I'm going to add some water to let it continue cooking. Oh, excuse me. Okay, there you go. That's one of the reasons why I'm home today. Caught a bit of a cold running around with the horses yesterday at the church, and it was raining, and yep. So I'm just trying to recover with some hot curry. There you go. So I'm going to leave that to cook for another 10-15 minutes. Okay, so after 10 minutes, this is what it looks like. The water is drying up, and with a knife, just checking the status of the potatoes. They seem to be soft enough. Some of them, not all of them. But that's alright. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the tomato in, 2 cups, and I think just judging by the color of the curry, I should have added a little less curry powder, maybe 1.5 teaspoons rather than 2 full teaspoons. So I'm just going to stir the tomatoes in. So, stir them in, and that was 2 small tomatoes that added in. Just get the tomatoes all nicely mixed up into the curry. Okay, there you go. Now I'm going to let it, it's still on number 4, and I'm going to leave it to cook. Just shake it a little bit, even it out, and just, I think I'll put it on 3 for a little bit because I don't want it to, I've just turned it down to 3. I would like to just let it, you know, kind of simmer in with the tomatoes. I am going to then, once I open up the lid in another 5-10 minutes, I'm going to add a teaspoon of sugar, and then the eggs and the peas.